Hello there voltage modular people, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be doing a technical overview of storing forward. Storing forward without a doubt is a quick way to get very creative. To explain it, it can be quite confusing because yes, it is a bit like a step sequencer. It's also a little bit like a sampling hold with an echo, a voltage stepper. There's quite a few little things which are actually going on within this device. But the beautiful thing about it is absolutely so easy to use and to set up and to get going. And that's the whole point of it. So let's very quickly wire it up and just see how quick it is. I'm first of all going to just wire up a keyboard. So it's going to need some pitch and gate data. I'm then just going to hold my control key down as I click the CV out, and I'm just going to wire up these two oscillators. And then I'm same again, I'm going to hold control down, click the gate, and wire up my two gates. And there's this little out button, so I'm just going to make sure that's enabled, so that's now turned on. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit a key on my keyboard. And there we go. Let's just speed it up a little bit. And let's hit some more. Simple as that. So as I say, the out does stop the output, but if you notice internally, it's still going on. So it allows you to obviously to stop it, but if you've got loads of things in sync, it would obviously keep itself in sync as well. So as I say, this thing is split into multiple different layers. So I think we should start off at the top. Straightforward, we've got ourselves a simple pulse, and that pulse will be taking the CV data it's recorded and it's going to pulse it out. It pulses out a gate signal, and obviously it's sending out the CV signal it's recorded out of the CV ports. We can also change the way that pulse works based on these swingers. Now, swingers are not on steps. A lot of the times you would swing on a particular step, but in this case it swings on a pulse, and it's semi-important to get that in your head, because what can happen is, let's just say for example, and this is an easy example, we've got 4 steps, we're going to swing on pulse number 2 and number 4, and it's always going to swing on them two. So that's absolutely easy to understand. But what happens if we've got 5 steps? Well, we're going to pulse on 2 and 4, but the next time around we're going to pulse on 1, 3 and 5, because it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you notice, the 4th one's moving as well. So it's a moving, it'd be moving if we've obviously got an odd number of steps. And another little thing to look out for is if I was on an odd number of steps and I happen to be pulsing on 1 and 3, and I suddenly change this back down to, let's make it easy and say I changed it back down to 4, I'm now going to be pulsing on 1 and it's going to continue, because obviously this was 4, and so it'd be 1, 2, so I'm going to carry on 3, 4, 1, 2, so it's going to carry on that way. And the reason I'm trying to point this out is if we come along and hit reset, it's going to reset it, and now your swinging will go back to normal and pulsing here and here, and you might have gone, but I really was liking what I had going there. Well, not a problem, because if you had your swing and you had that set to somewhere like there, you should be able to push it around to the other side and roughly get around about what you was hearing before. This would be a great place to talk about an amendment, what's come in. We've now got this odd button, which is, as I was talking about, was originally working on 2 and 4. If the odd's enabled and a reset comes in, we can now go off 1 and 3. Also, we've got this little link light. So again, when a reset comes in, if this out happens to be off, it will turn it on. If it's already on, well, it makes no difference at all. And be aware, it doesn't matter how many times I click this on and off, when it's running, it's not going to have 0 effect on the device. It only ever has effect is when it receives an input signal. So you're going to be seeing me during this little bit of demonstration turn it on and off, but it's not until I hit the go to send the reset signal through will it actually change, and I'll let you know when I'm doing that. So let's actually start off in the normal mode. I'm going to hit go, and it's going to automatically fire off this storing forward. So it's a great little button for a very quick bit of experimentation to see if it sounds better swinging one way or swinging the other way. The swing and obviously the pulse has an effect on the gate length. The gate length is obviously then a percentage. So it's a percentage of the pulse minus whatever's happening or plus whatever's happening with the swing. We can also offset this gate length with some CV coming in as well. So that's quite nice there. We can get ourselves a nice bit of movement. All these can be overridden with a CV in. So we can input our own pulse and we can obviously change the gate length, and we'll demonstrate that later. So we could have a very irregular pulse if we wish to coming in here. It supports up to 999 steps. You just click and hold and you can just drag up and down. So you can go up to 999 steps. What also happens with this device, you may notice at the moment, I actually, at the very beginning, inputted 10 notes, and so we're whizzing around 10 notes. So whenever I put in a new note, it's going to auto loop, because that's how much CV data it's got to loop round, until it gets to 16. And what that really is telling it is, when I input my 17th note, I'm going to automatically overwrite my first step, and so on and so forth. So obviously I can increase that so I don't overwrite stuff, or I can make that even shorter and I can start overwriting stuff straight away. We have an in and out mode. So at the moment, this is the in mode. That's the step I'm currently going to be writing. So if I then push it to out, it's now following the internal pulse, or if I had an external pulse, it's following that pulse. And so when I hit a key, it's actually going to be the one step after. So if I see step 10 there, it'll actually be one after. And in fact, if I was on step 10 and I was to hit it, there's a good chance that would go to step 11 because it'll append because we haven't got to 16. So if I was to bring that down to 10, I'll guarantee if I was to hit that on 10 now, it would actually overwrite step number 1. We've also got an advance button, so we can obviously advance around to the appropriate step that we wish to overwrite next. We have a clear all, so we can just clear everything which is actually in the buffer, and we can have got a CV override for that clear all as well. We've got a one shot, we've got the step mode, which has a one shot and a repeat. Most of the time, repeat and then are the two modes I have it in. And one shot is kind of, I sort of aimed at a live environment. There's nothing wrong with you using it in a non-live environment, but I have it in a live environment, and I'm going to demonstrate it by just increasing this a little bit. Let's turn this on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a couple of notes on my keyboard. And the whole point of it is I can hit some notes on my keyboard. As they're playing, I can come and twiddle something. Then I can play some more notes, and so it's making me hands-free effectively. But obviously, once it's finished them playing them, it's not going to repeat them. That's it. It's just going to play what you've got in that particular buffer. And that is my main point behind that, is to try and get it hands-free. We've got a then and a now, and to be honest, the now was again more geared up for the one shot than a repeat, but there's nothing wrong in using it on the repeat. And it's to do with the internal pulse. So as I say, I've got a pulse going here, and it might go here, and it might pulse here. Well, if it's on a then, and I play a key, it's going to wait for the next pulse. So it's going to play then. If I hit a key here and it is in now, it would just start the pulse here, and then all these pulse widths. So if that was a pulse, it would be moved along to say that there. So it starts off the pulse clock, and it would reset until you hit another key. The reset is purely to do with the pulse, so it just reset the pulse. So that reset would be quite handy, maybe to come from the play transport, so you could sync everything up together. Down the bottom, we've got this Trig Mode, and this Trig Mode has 3 different modes, and one of the ways, and it's got a help on it as well, tooltip help, but one of the ways I think of and to help remember it is in the bottom one, we're on the gate row, so it needs some gate information before it can take in one piece of CV data. So it'll only ever record one piece of CV data at a time. That's a bit like a step sequencer. In the middle mode, it needs some gate open, but it record any changes to CV. So if you've got a moving CV signal, it record everything while that gate is open. And in the top mode, it records all CV, and it'll just carry on, keep recording that particular CV. So let's actually have a quick look at them in their different modes. So what I've got over here, I've got myself a random LFO. I'm putting an attenuator, so I'm just sort of narrowing the range down, which is going into my CV in here. I'm using my trig gate because that's going to obviously work as a gate in this particular case. So one of the things I'm actually going to do is actually increase the amount of steps, because we've got some randomization going on here, so we could actually really turn this up and get some fast things going in. As you can see, I've got a really fast rate going on. So when I hit my gate, I'm going to hit go. It will only ever record that one piece of data. So it's sort of doing a bit of a sample and hold. So again, and obviously you can see it's now rolling around between the two. It's just recorded that one piece of data. If we go into the middle mode, when I hit my go, whilst this goes held down, it's going to record all data which is being sent out by this LFO, and you should see these numbers start whizzing up. And there we go. So I'm just holding my go down and it's recording everything coming from that particular LFO. And as I said, if I go into the top, it's going to record all data. I don't have to hold anything down, and it'll just keep recording it. And once it hits the maximum, it'll go back around in a loop. Obviously, you could stop it here, unplug it, or just move this down, say, into another mode. You could say one nice thing about this is you would be able to record some randomization data, which you can then repeat. So it's still random data, even though you're repeating it. And when you think about it, in music in general, when you have something which is semi-repeating, you've got something to hook onto. So even though you've got something random, you repeating it, it could give you something to hook onto. What we've actually recorded, I don't know. So let's actually speed it up a bit and see what it sounds like. It might sound terrible. And I'm going to put some swing on it as well. Could have sounded a lot worse than it really did, but thankfully it didn't sound that terrible. So that's a simple way of, I say, using the different trigger modes of getting data into it, and even getting, say, some random information and how we've got that in. Let's have a quick look at the override. And as I said, that is going to override all this stuff. So actually I'm going to nick that square, and let's grab that and just put that into the override now. And let's just turn this on. So we've got this randomization data going. So at the moment I've slowed it right down. Obviously if I speed this up, we can speed it up. Using the pulse width, I can affect the gate of how it sounds. And obviously if I had another LFO, I could affect this one, affecting this. Quite straightforward. The only button I haven't really spoken about on this device is this one button right at the very bottom. So I'm just going to unplug this CV, and I'm going to unplug this gate. And this button, little button, says reason. So what's actually happened is now it's converting the CV range it's got inside into Reason's CV note range. Because voltage modular works on a 1 volt per octave, whereas in Reason it's 1 volt for the complete range. And the way I talk to Reason is via the audios. So first of all, I'm going to put a bit of CV data there, and then I'm going to put some gate data, and let's just hit reset, and we're going to put something else in. And what I've got this wired up to in the Reason world, if you have a quick look, you can see I just got quite a bit of wiring going on, but it's going off to this DCO 106. So let's just put the out on and let's start playing something and see what we get going on. turn it off. And I was quite randomly-ish hitting notes on my keyboard. I didn't sort of make that pattern up. I did make that pattern up, but I mean, I didn't have it in my head. I just done something on the fly. And you can see you come up with some ideas very, very quickly indeed. And it's quite funny that when you turn the reason button off, I think it goes a little bit jazzy. But there we go. So this is storing forward. It's part of the PoohBear goodie bag bundle. I hope you enjoy it. And thank you for watching, and bye for now.